Hello everyone, picking up where we left off, Master of Self-Realization by Shri, Sadguru Siddharameshwar Maharaj. Chapter 5, page 62 is where we left off last. Let's see. Now let us see how the causal body dies. The causal body is the producer, or the father, of the subtle body. Whenever any state comes uninvited, the causal body is not invited. It is experienced for a short time, and once the flood of it recedes, it is not remembered. The state of it, while it is coming and forceful and growing, yet once the flood ebbs away, it is not even remembered. After having submerged everything for a short period of time, it begins to dissipate, and at last it becomes as if it were not there at all and completely disappears. When a human being is getting roasted in the hot sun and then moves under the cool shade of a tree, at that very moment the flood of cool peace comes to him with such force that he lets out a laugh as an expression of joy. This shows that the flood of peace is overflowing from the inside as well as outside of him. However, after some time, that laugh automatically passes and he lies quietly unaware of his surroundings. Similarly, when the subtle qualities of the subtle body, such as its hurry and its struggle, becomes comparatively less, forgetfulness in the form of the peaceful void of the causal body is automatically forgotten. When this negative state is negated, it results only in negation. To kill it does not require a sword or a positive statement of the I am. Shri Samartha Ramdas made this clear by the statement, "The negative is negated by its own negation." When the state of forgetfulness is dissolved, the fourth body, the state of knowledge, that is the tourist state, becomes exposed automatically. Turyavasatha, consciousness of consciousness, this state of knowledge comes to a being with the help of what? It comes in relationship with the state of ignorance, but even this state of knowledge, although very powerful, also dissolves eventually. When one attains knowledge, it is necessary that the knowledge also must be dissolved. That which comes has to go. As ignorance comes, likewise knowledge comes. Thus, when the knowledge that is the great causal body dies, Para-Brahman, which is inherent in all of the four bodies, is exposed. This Para-Brahman is that which is never born and never dies. After each respective body dies, that one who sees the death of all these bodies yet remains is your real nature. Experiencing the castes in a human being. Lord Krishna, that word kind of threw me off. C-A-S-T-E-S, castes. Castes? I think it's castes. Lord Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, "I have created 4 types of castes. This can be a subject of experience for any human being in his own self. My creation is divided into 4 parts, and these parts are divided according to their quality and karma activity. The 4 castes are Brahman priests, Kshatriya, warrior, Vaishya, merchant, and Shudra, laborer. The 4 bodies can be viewed along the same lines. The great causal body is of the Brahman caste. The causal body is of the warrior caste. The subtle body is of the merchant caste, and the gross body is of the laborer caste. In this way, Paratman was dispersed into these parts within himself. The gross body is heavy and is an instrument used for service and labor, and therefore it is the Shudra laborer castes. Sitting on a mattress in the gross body, taking a balance in hand and managing the business of the whole world, is the intellect, Buddhi, who compares things as good and bad, big and small, and employs the laborer, gross body, as a servant to get things done as he likes, because he is master. For this reason, the subtle body is the Vaishya, merchant caste. Now look at the brave actions of the causal body. The causal body established his kingdom by swallowing up the entire wealth in the form of the world that was accumulated on the strength of the capital of desires, imagination, dreams, and doubts. It also swallows up the servants in the form of the gross and subtle bodies. The causality, which is one of total destruction, is the attitude of a warrior, and therefore the state of the causal body is that of the kshatriya warrior caste. Now, what remains is only the great causal body, Brahmin caste. In this body, there is a complete neglect of all other three bodies. I have nothing to do with the gross body, which puts in hard labor and dies. Neither do I have anything to do with the merchant in the form of the intellect who trades in ideas and dreams and spreads the vast panorama of the world. I have also nothing to do with the warrior in the form of the causal body who sits quietly as if nothing has happened after killing both the subtle and gross bodies. They all may do nothing, or let the gross body groan under hard labor, and let the subtle body do business with the world, and let the causal body wage war against these two. What have I to do with any of these? There is a saying, think of the self Rama, and let the world fight. Knowing this very well, the great causal body went on announcing the Vedic words, I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasi, and sat quietly on his own ground, reaching the high stage of Brahmanhood. This Brahman is very orthodox about the touch of another caste and cannot tolerate the touch of another body. The other bodies hold the great causal body in high esteem and smear their heads with the dust of his feet. From the point of view of Vijnana, supreme knowledge, or final reality, even if this great causal body becomes polluted by being in contact with the other bodies, it is still the most sacred and highest in all three worlds, the three bodies, the states of walking, deep sleep, and ignorance. The three worlds. The gross body is the material world, Swagarloka. The subtle body is the world of birth and death, Mrityu Loka, and the causal body is another world, Patala Loka. The great causal body is Brahman. These bodies are divided according to their qualities, and these worlds are known by these qualities. The gross body is the Swargaloka and sits on the top, or covers the other worlds. All sorts of external enjoyments and activities are experienced in this world. The wonderful gardens and the beautiful forests are created for this world only, and the presiding deity here is Brahma Deva, the creator whose main quality is activity, or the Rajas Guna. The world below this is the world of death and birth, called Mrityu Loka, and this Loka is a big factory of birth and death, where the qualities of appearing and disappearing are continuously being processed. This continuous process is nothing but the rising birth and setting death of mental modifications. In this way, one is born many times and dies many times during the same day. Everyone should keep for himself an account of his births and rebirths. Every idea produced a visible appearance, and when that idea sets, the appearance also sets. In this way, when ideas stop in the end of an era, or kalpanta, the final dissolution of concepts, this is experienced continuously in the subtle body. The scriptural writers have accepted the principle of creation and appearance. They stated that as soon as an idea rises, the world rises, and when the idea sets, the world thereby also sets, unless the subtle body, in the form of Ritu Loka, is permanently destroyed and buried. Hundreds of eras are sure to rise and set. Therefore, one should die such a death that eliminates the further necessity of being born at all, and live in one's true nature in such a way that there is no fear of any further experience of dying. Let this be so. Whatever has to happen will happen, but until then, it is certain that this Ritu Loka keeps its mouth wide open for entry. The abode of the subtle body is the inner mind, which is known as the Antakarana, or consciousness. The presiding deity here is Vishnu, and he nourishes the world. Note, Antakarana is a word that has no English equivalent and is different to define. Shri Siddharameshwar used this word frequently in many of his talks, so it warrants some basic explanation. It is generally considered to be the seat of consciousness, that is, the spark of genesis, of subtle manifestation arising out of formless existence. It is characterized by the motion of the attributes arising out of the attributeless consciousness. One can say it is the source of mind, or one's innermost mind, or innermost heart. It is the origin of the assertion of objectivity. It is the mind at its most subtle. Shri Siddharameshwar Maharaj has said about it, the inner mind of all is the same, while their minds are different. Throughout this text, it is translated as inner mind for consistency. The world below that knowledge of the inner mind is Patala Loka, the netherworld, which is the causal body in the form of forgetfulness. In Patala Loka, there is the pitch darkness of ignorance. The destroyer Rudra Shiva, who is of the quality of ignorance, or tamas, is the presiding deity here. Above these three is the great causal body, which is the highest body, and is therefore higher than these three worlds. The presiding deity here is pure knowledge. That knowledge rules here and is the God of all gods. From this God all the worlds are produced, and he is also called the Lord of the three worlds. Trilokayanath. The Brahmana, knower of Brahman castes, is the guru of all the castes, and therefore is placed most highly among them. This gives him the status of a master. This Brahmana does not allow even the shadow of ignorance to fall on him. What's more is that he refuses to even become polluted by the mind and intellect. So give up the idea that he will ever embrace the corpse of the gross body. This orthodox, clean Brahmin, in the form of the pure consciousness or universal cosmic consciousness, does not allow even a single entrant into his great causal body. Therefore, it should be understood that none of these bodies or castes, warrior/causal body, trader/subtle body, labor/gross body, can ever enter into his abode. This means that the gross and subtle bodies can never enter the great causal body. These bodies, castes, cannot do anything without the help of the Brahmana, the primal knowledge, I am. All of their good and bad actions or works only go on the support and strength of this Brahmana. At this time, the Brahmana comes out of his dwelling and accomplishes the work of these three castes. As soon as the work is done, he cleans himself of any traces of them right in front of their doorstep, and only then enters back into his own abode. Understanding the knowledge of self. Brahman is rich with knowledge. That is why he is called Vedo Narayana, knowledge that is God residing in all. He knows all the three times, the beginning, the middle, and the end, and he has a characteristic of sadhya, which is the space between any two thoughts. He is worshipped by all people and therefore is called the Lord of the world. The people of all castes and creeds worship this God, whether they are aware of it or not. The worshipper may be a Hindu, a Muslim, a Christian, a Jain, a Parsi, or a Buddhist. He may be from any country such as Iran, Turkey, etc. Yet he only worships this one God, whoever he may be. He cannot help it. When this God is hungry, all types of food and drink are offered to him. There are mattresses with cushions made into beds ready for him to sleep upon. If he feels like traveling, there are cars, airplanes, and many other types of transportation ready for him to supply him with fragrant garlands. There are many trees and vines that blossom forth, laden with flowers. All servants and attendants are ready to obey him with folded hands. The wife, children, and palaces are for his entertainment, and they are also his dwelling place. God is dwelling in the innermost heart of all beings and receiving all of the different kinds of service that are rendered unto him. Yet, in spite of his greatness and omnipresence, we consider the body as God and offer all kinds of services to it. The ignorant people have accepted this wrong idea and have misunderstood the whole affair. It is this idea that has separated God from his devotee. What is there to be amazed about? Those who are doing actions are doing it for no other reason than out of worship rendered to him. This great God, Mahadeva, is constantly enjoying the shower of all of the objects of the senses in the form of sound, form, touch, taste, and smell. He receives everything that is of the nature, the 5 instruments of senses of actions, and the 5 instruments of knowledge. That devotee is indeed glorious, who understands the secret of this great God, Mahadeva. All acts of such a devotee are naturally dedicated to Brahman. The bees, birds, insects, and even the ants are performing worship to this God. However, they don't have the intellect to understand this, so they cannot be blamed for their ignorance. However, it is unfortunate indeed that the intelligent human being does not understand that all of his daily and occasional actions are but for the sake of this one God alone. How very unfortunate this is. This God is the same as the King of Knowledge, who, while swallowing a mouthful of food, tastes and enjoys it. It is he who discriminates between fragrance and stench. It is he who understands which sound is pleasant to the ear and which sound is harsh. It is he who observes the difference between a beautiful or a fierce and ugly form. It is he who understands the soft or hard touch. He is always present, reigning supreme in every being's heart. How utterly misguided is the idea that we worship any other God than this one. Just think of which God is worshipped when the Christians worship Christ. The Hindus worship Vishnu or Shiva. The Parsis worship their Zoroaster, or the Buddhists their Buddha. Are they not merely worshipping the corpses of these mentioned gods? However, what is the feeling of the devotee who is worshipping? Ask anyone from any religion, describe your God, and they will answer, my God is conscious, luminous, solid, omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent. He animates all and owns all. He is without birth and without death. Will anyone say that his God is a stone or a rock or mud or metal or heavy, dull, and vacant without consciousness, or that he is weak, blind, or deaf? From this it is clear that whether it is Christ, Vishnu, Buddha, Zoroaster, or whatever God it may be, his nature will be full of consciousness, and he is full of the qualities of God. If anyone possesses all of these qualities, then the indication is that he is the absolute para-Atman. He is God in the form of knowledge that is present in everyone's heart. This God alone dwelled in Muhammad, in Christ's heart, was pervaded by this one God as well. It is only by this God that the quality of Vishnu, the protector, has been sustained, and not by any other God. For any devotee, whoever he may be, that worships any God, that worship is the worship of this one inner self. The obeisance made to any other gods go to this one God, our own self-nature alone. This is the absolute truth. The forms of all the above-mentioned gods are the only temples of this one God. All the names belong to his temples' bodies. He is present in the innermost region of all these forms. He sits in all of the forms of all beings and accepts all of their worship, whatever actions are done by the gross body, and whatever imagination or desires or concepts and doubts that have crossed the mind happen for the sake of this God in order to please him. If you recognize this much, your work is done. All of you are doing something through your body or mind. If you say, we do not want to do it, you cannot stop from doing it. However, whatever you do, the doer and enjoyer of your deeds is only God, the Self. This fact alone must be recognized in every moment. All auspicious and inauspicious acts thus become dedicated to Brahman, and the aspirant remains absolutely free. This is what is called the sacrifice through knowledge. Yanana Yanya. And that's it for today. Ending on page 68. Okay, just making a mark here. Where is my pencil? I do not know. Okay, so that's it for today of Master of Self-Realization by Shri Sadguru Siddharameshwar Maharaj. I'll see ya for the next pages. Adios.